Welcome to the I Fired My Boss franchise podcast. My name's Dan Claps, founder and CEO of Franchise Playbook, a franchisor platform where we create, own, and operate dynamic franchise brands in the mobile services space. And my life's goal is to help people just like you fire their boss and become a business owner.
And I'm Christian Dadalak, top franchise consultant and co-founder of Real Franchising, a leading franchise consulting firm. And together, we're on a mission to help people fire their boss, hire themselves, and live the American dream through franchise ownership.
All right. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the I Fired My Boss podcast with your host, Dan Claps. Excited to get this episode going today. You know, it's interesting. I've been kind of slacking on putting podcast episodes out. I used to do it every week, and I've gotten a little bit busier. And just recently thought, well, why not just talk to, our franchise owners? We got to talk anyway, and why not make it a podcast? And so got a special guest today for really the first episode that I'm doing like this, although we have had franchise owners on in the past. But I figured with this new goal of interviewing our franchise owners, I might as well start with our first ever franchise owner. So audience, if you don't know him, you will now. I've got a special guest, Mike Hagan. Mike is the OG franchise owner in the Voda system. He bet on us before anyone else did. And really excited to have him on. Mike, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. It was cool when you reached out saying you could do this. Now that you're really just out there a little bit more socially, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a W-2 employee before, and I fired my boss. So here I am.
Yeah, fired your boss and hired yourself. Well, cool. Mike, I was hoping where we could start would be maybe just if you could just kind of take me through, kind of your background, what got you starting to look into business, and then ultimately going into restoration.
I've been in financial sales for a long time. I'd go to car dealerships and work for a bank and get them to use our products over everybody else. And I was always top sales, and I would go from one finance institution, blow it up, make a lot of money, and then they'd have financial problems, go out of business, cut the program back, and then I'd have to go to another one and then start from scratch with them, blow it up, and then go somewhere else. And I just got tired of making somebody else rich and making somebody a lot of money. And I've always wanted to own a business and do things for myself. And I finally was in a position when I could do that.
But you started with kind of, it's interesting because you were able to have the best of both worlds for a little bit, right?
Absolutely. So the company that I was working for before, they were having financial issues. So they paid us all a guarantee, and I was working my W-2 job for about the first 2 years of this, and year and a half, 2 years. So I was doing my W-2 job and running this full time as well. So I got the best of both worlds.
And I guess, excuse me, one of my questions is, you had looked at businesses for probably 12 months or maybe even a little bit longer before jumping into Voda. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. I probably did more due diligence than the normal person out there for sure. I'd say I looked at probably 25 to 50 different franchises. I interviewed a lot of different franchisees at those franchises, found people on LinkedIn that they didn't give me over the phone and called them. And I really did my due diligence. I wanted to make sure that whatever I put my life savings on, I did it right.
Well, that's important. That's an important distinction. If you're listening to this and you're looking at owning a franchise, it's important that you validate. Well, first of all, I think you should first learn about the business, and then when you're ready to start talking to owners, yes, get on the group calls and listen to the owners that the franchisor puts on there. But you should also go out there and try to talk to other owners as well and get a mix of the top producers, the middle. It sounds like that's what you did. You kind of reached out and tried to create as much of a.
I went through the entire process with quite a few different companies, and then once I got to the point where I was interested and thought that might be something that would be a fit. I wanted to hear not the sales pitch from the franchise, but wanted to hear what a real person that actually owns a franchise was going through as well. and which really kind of made me narrow things down and why I chose Voda.
But it's interesting only because I guess you zeroed in on the industry, but with us, we had no one, right? You only had the team. So is it like, for you, was it, what drove you to want to move forward with us?
Well, that was 100% like why I liked you guys, because I zeroed it down to restoration, talked to probably 3 other restoration companies. A lot of the people said they just kind of throw you on an island. You go to training for 2 weeks. Training's decent, and then after that, you don't hear from anybody. They could care less. They just want a franchisee. Pay their $40,000 or $50,000, and then whoever makes it, and whoever doesn't. And I thought, well, these guys, if I'm the first person, they're going to spend a lot of time. Like they're gonna kind of hold my hand, train me. They're going to show me up the ropes. I mean, I can't fail. If I'm the first franchisees can't fail. I mean, you're going to have to show my numbers in an FDD statement. So. And I thought that everybody seemed really hungry and wanting to grow. Like, all the executive team that I talked to, Steve and Zach, yourself. And I'm like, these guys just want to blow it up and get big. And they're going to do everything they can to make sure I'm successful, which is one of the big draws that I had with Voda.
Yeah. My goal with our system is to not lose sight of that as we get bigger. It's interesting, Mike, we've recently signed our 107th franchise owner that, active in the system. But when we signed our 101st, I wrote a whole message to the team at the home office and said, we signed our first franchise owner. And then we signed our 102nd. I said our second. And they, what do you mean? It's 102nd. And I said to them, no, the road to 200 owners and becoming a national player in the market is different now, right? To get to the next stage alongside with our first owners, we have to keep that day one mentality. Like we can't lose that. Like you said, the hunger, the drive, the connection. And yes, the business changes as we get bigger, but we can't start acting like, we're this giant company, right? We have to, if we want to be ServPro one day, we haven't even gotten started. The road is long. And I'm excited, as you probably have heard, we just brought on, a national accounts director, Laura, and her role really is building the infrastructure of national accounts. Where she's good at is the actual building the operations, building the team, all the systems we need. And then we're going to go out there and really attack the restoration market. And I hope to bring on, restoration salespeople, heavy hitters, but it's interesting because it's like we started a whole nother business, which is the, Voda national accounts business. Now that we're bigger, because I remember you asking about it when you first started. It's like, well, we got to get to here first. And I'm really excited to say that we're where we need to be now to now go out there and really start hitting the national account circuit.
Yeah, that's exciting.
It'll take time, but I'm confident, with a maniacal focus in 2026, I'm hoping that, end of 2026, 2027, we start to see some opportunities coming in. And what's interesting is I'm seeing franchise owners bringing us opportunities. They go do work for a property management firm. Recently, it happened in Arizona. There was 19. The company turned out to have 19 other locations. We did a great service for them. The local owner brought them into our corporate team, and now we're working our way up the chain to get a larger account. And so, between all of our smart franchise owners, there's 107 of them, the home office team, and now Laura, I'm excited about that initiative.
And that's something I wasn't seeing when I was talking to some of the other restoration franchisees. And I talk to potential franchisees a lot with Voda, and I always kind of bring that up. I'm like, you guys are constantly doing things to bring in more business, to help us out, have different trainings, hiring people, that sort of thing. And I just didn't see that going on with the other ones. They just wanted, they just had a, one-time training, and then that was it. They were on their own. So I think that's great that you guys are doing that. And that's one of the reasons I think it's growing so fast. Yeah.
I wish we could do even more. We did a regional in North Jersey. My hope is that we could do those, next year, maybe 4 regionals, like one in the Texas area, one in, the Northeast, one in the Midwest, and maybe one West, like California, as we expand there. But this year, I'm excited since the conference, I don't know if we formally set it out.
I was really excited for the location on that.
Yeah, right there in Dallas. We figured, you know what, a good amount of our first owners were in Texas, and so we said let's have it in Dallas this year, which is cool. So let's kind of switch gears. Let's say someone's listening to this and they're a property manager or a plumber or, someone that, sends work to cleaning and restoration companies. What would you say is the main reason they go with you and your team?
I just think the level of service that we offer, we have trainings Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from corporate on customer service and doing things the right way. And the franchise, kind of mandates that we have the best of the best equipment and systems and different things like that. I think that they know that, no matter where they go, whether it's Dallas, Texas or New York or Chicago, they're going to get that same level of service across the brand. And we're going to definitely go in there and we're going to clean it, up to their standards. We're going to, our customer service is going to be a 10 out of 10. And, I think that they know that they're going to get that with the Voda brand.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think what you do that's really smart as well. I rewatched a movie recently, The Founder, about McDonald's. And there's a scene in the movie where when he first starts franchising McDonald's, Ray Kroc is selling the franchise to his buddies at the country club and wealthier investors. And, he ends up going to the golf course and like smashing a hamburger on his friend's chest, saying like, this is not very good, and realizes that he wants people a little more involved, and all of a sudden starts bringing on, what you call husband-wife teams into the franchise. And it's cool because that's what you have with Trish, right? Like you guys both kind of work the business.
Yeah. Trish, my wife, she does all the cleaning side. Handles all the cleaning. She takes the phone calls, schedules the jobs, handles any kind of customer complaints. So everything that's cleaning an air duct goes through her. And then I handle all the restoration. So it kind of splits it up to where we have two owners, but I don't have to pay her salary. So
right. You guys are benefiting together from the business. It's smart. We have a good amount of our owners that do that, where they divide and conquer, whether it's a spouse or, one of our owners in Texas as well has their, brother-in-law that runs part of the business. And, the other guy, is more the business side and one is more the day-to-day side. And that works really well. It can work when you have a partner too. The challenge is, like you said, now you've got two families to feed versus, one household.
Yeah, man, we can double down on networking events. If we have two at one time, she could go to one, I could go to the other. We have like different happy hours for networking that might be at the same time, and she'll go to one, and I'll go to the other one. And I think it helps us out a lot too when we go to the networking meetings and stuff like that, because everybody's, oh, cool, husband-wife team.
All right, now here's a question. What's something about business ownership that you love more than you thought you would? And then something maybe not as good, like, you didn't think about before getting into business that is maybe more challenging than you thought?
I think just the freedom to be able to do whatever you want is beyond what I ever even imagined. I was excited about that, but now that I'm a franchise owner and I'm in it, and I think it's just unbelievable. I could pick up and go to Cancun next week if I want to. It's just absolutely, one of the greatest things in the world. One of the things that I didn't know, just having to deal with a lot of like like a customer complaint, having to answer emails nonstop, having to, just a lot of the administrative type work. Then you're brand new and you're not in a position to hire an admin. You're doing a lot of admin work, a lot more than you would think.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though. That totally makes sense. I feel like at a certain size, you can eventually, like, I'll tell you, like, I wish I learned this sooner. I read a book. I actually really recommend it if you like audiobooks, especially.
Absolutely.
The author is like, he's an interesting, he narrates it and he's like interesting to listen to. His name is Dan Martell. And it's a book called Buy Back Your Time. It doesn't apply to someone that's, has a smaller business, but as you grow your business now, it starts to make sense. He basically says that if you don't have an executive assistant, then as the business owner, you're the assistant. And it's like you're probably spending most of your time on admin. So eventually, you take that off your plate. That's for me, that's been really rewarding this past year, past 2 years, bringing on an assistant.
I think I'm getting to that point. So finally.
All of a sudden you free up your time to do the things that bring in money. It's weird though. You have to be able to let go. Like, I'll give you an example. For me, my assistant has my inbox. Our content person has my Instagram, messages. Basically everything in my life is public. So you exchange a little bit of privacy in exchange for like way more freedom, right? Where he's overseeing everything. And so, maybe in 2026, that might be a goal for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do you want to go in 2026? Have you guys plan kind of what your goals are?
Definitely start to get heavier into the recon side and do that even more than what we're doing right now. And, possibly hire a business development manager. So
it's interesting because we've been working together since the beginning. I was, and I'll just be candid saying this. When we first launched Voda, I was hesitant with recon, and as the company has grown, I've changed my opinion on it, because for franchise owners to build the biggest business and for us to build the biggest business, I think eventually, I don't like it when people do it right away when they're not as ready. But once you're starting to have some traction and the systems you have, it's really how you build an even bigger company. And the customer wants to know that you can take it out and, meaning take the drywall out and also put it back. So I think it's great that you're going in that direction in the coming year.
Oh, yeah. And that's one of the other benefits of being a part of a franchise. Like, one of the reasons I'm thinking of going in that direction is because I talked to our Houston and our Austin franchisees. I'm like, how are you guys doing? How are you hitting those kind of numbers? I mean, I'll hit 150 in a month and they'll hit 300. Like recon, it's a majority recon. You have to go into recon, and they kind of, hire a person like this, ask these interview questions. So it just really helps out being in a network where we can collaborate and make each other better.
Yeah. Yeah, and then on the HQ side, it's supporting recon more too, which is something we definitely want to be doing, more training on it, more systems. I was talking to our COO Zach Nolte today. We're designing we're finishing up designing our rocks for 2026, for the quarter, right? So analogy for anyone that doesn't know it: if you take a jar and you put a bunch of sand in it, and then you try to put rocks in there, they won't fit. If you put the rocks first and then you put the sand will fit around the rocks. So the idea behind it is, what are your main 4 or 5 things you want to accomplish for the quarter, and everything else will get done. But what are the things that are going to really move the needle? And Zach was talking about, how do we train technicians? Obviously, we have to be careful. There's some laws around joint employer, and we they're employees. But how do we train our technicians as good, if not better, than we train even our owners, right? At the HQ side, so that you can know that, like, hey, if my technician goes through, Voda, Technician University online or in person, they get even better, so that we get even more 5-star reviews and, help it that way.
Absolutely.
So I guess my other question would be, not in a system, you have top performers, middle, bottom, you're a top performer. If you had to put it into 1 or 2 things that you do, what do you think why do you think you succeed?
I mean, I think I don't focus on the time wasting type of thing. I don't look at the complaints and I don't let things get me down. I just put my foot on the gas and just keep on going and just drive the car right through it, and when it comes to leads, if I'm going to go out and buy, $1,200 leads, I'm not going to let a couple bad ones get me down and say, oh man, I just wasted $4,000 and, this was not a job and I'm not going to buy from them anymore. I just keep going. You just get to keep going and focus on the sale. And I'm coming from a sales background. Everything that we do, we're a sales company. We, from the technician going to the house on a carpet job to my project manager and I going in to close a restoration job. Everything is sales and revolves around sales. So I think just those 2 things, focusing on that has just really driven it.
Yeah, I think that makes
and we
a ton
network.
of sense.
I network like crazy. I mean, if I meet somebody in a house, like the customer hires a contractor, hey, you want to go to lunch? And that's generated a lot of business for me.
Yeah, mayor of the town for sure. Cool, man. Well, it's exciting. I'm excited to see you, work toward your goal for 2026 as well. I'll see you. So you're going to be at the Voda conference in Dallas?
Oh, absolutely. Heck yeah. Wouldn't miss it for the world.
I've got your jacket, by the way.
I have a jacket?
Yeah. So, I guess I've never told anyone. So last year, for the listeners, Mike won Franchisee of the Year last year. He wasn't able to make it because I think you were celebrating your
10-year anniversary. Yep.
Yeah, anniversary.
Cruise.
But this year we'll have Voda Franchise Owner of the Year as well. But the goal is, like in the Masters, they have like the green jackets.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have jackets. They're lined with Voda for the Franchisee of the Year. So obviously you'll have yours for last year. We didn't have them, but we're making them now. And
you're not going to invite me to a cocktail session in the golf course and turn those sprinklers on, right?
No, it's not. What is that, from Happy Gilmore? Or
I think so.
Yeah. But the goal is like over the next 5-10 years, you've got, the photo will be like Franchisee of the Year throughout all the years. And then you have the jacket. So we have yours and Trish's being made right now, actually.
Awesome.
So,
that sounds great.
Cool, man. Thanks for tuning in. If you're listening, this is the I Fired My Boss podcast. If you enjoy it, please do leave a 5-star review or just click the subscribe button, share with your friends, and thanks for tuning in.
You're f***ing fired.
If you want to say those words to your boss, make sure you head on over to ifiredmybosspodcast.com and fill out the form to schedule a no-cost consultation. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend who might also want to fire their boss.